media, all of the policy makers, we don't control them. All we can say to ourselves, wake up every morning when we do this work, is that I am not going to give up until I achieve what it was that I set out to accomplish to begin with. And that's the first thing that any activist, any lobbyist, any group needs to realize first and foremost, first and always. All of the other stuff will come. And you notice here, there's no corporate donations to this. There are very few people that are coming out here who have real power. There are many people who are dissing on this movement, who are saying that this is not productive, that this isn't going fast enough, it's not effective, but they're paying attention. And I think there's a lot of people who are discounting this movement in the same way that they discounted the rabble-rousers of Don't Ask, Don't Tell repeal. And my only advice is that when you hear that negativity, when you hear that dissing on your movement, all you have to do is provide that one thing that they don't have, and that's the perseverance and the righteous, moral, upright stance that you have in your heart. They don't have that, and they wish they did.
Wow. I don't know how to.
What were we talking about? Your question. I think your question was about Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
Well,
right?
yeah. Actually, I wanted to share like a little story. The first time I met Dan, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we did meet. The first time we ever met was at Meet in the Middle in Fresno. At least that's my. I know that you were surrounded by a bunch of people, and you were doing a lot of good work with the Courage campaign and Nights Out, and
what became Get Equal.
Right, and what became Get Equal, the sort of like the genesis of, and even before Get Equal, the genesis of the National Equality March that happened. Dan, I reminded Dan today that 2 years ago today, we were all in Washington, D.C. marching for LGBT, queer, gay rights.
And we have so many names.
We have so many different names, but because of
that's right.
It's beyond the rainbow.
Yeah, exactly. But and it all had to do with one little ballot measure that passed in California in 2008, and it's weird to thank your opponents, but thank you for uniting us, giving us a common cause. Making us believe that we had it all in us, that voice and that drive and that motivation. But I digress way too often.
That's fine.
But
everybody's liking
we all
it.
met. Yeah. Well, we met in Fresno.
Your food in the high rise. Wilma 3 or right wingers. I don't understand what people are talking about.
All good food. Yeah, that's so weird. Anyway,
I guess they're trying to change the subject.
Yeah,
but they need to hear this. They need to know how we met.
Yeah, there was there was general dissatisfaction about well, everything happens in Los Angeles or everything happens in San Francisco. So Robin McGehee, who organized in Los Angeles and in the Bay Area, she's from Fresno, and she's actually a professor. I forget which university she teaches at, but she and other activist, Felicia Carvajal, I hope she's watching, they had an idea to meet in the middle. So Fresno is the geographical middle of California, so we all met there. We had about I don't even remember the numbers, but
thousands of people.
Thousands.
We marched a couple miles from
Selma, California.
To Fresno. That's right. It's been such a long time.
Yeah.
But the journey, you meet great friends and you build community through the movement.
That's true.
It's not a matter of the movement having everything set up to begin with and then you come in and wreck house. No, you build what you are through the process, and there is dissent through the process. Right. There was a lot of disagreement, and through that dissent you get a better product. For people that come in with a great corporate brand and with a set team and organization and tons of money and they got all the answers, they fail. Almost all the time they fail. I mean, and then they change the rules to say, okay, well, we succeeded because we changed the expectations. But what really happens in true movements is people just come together and they decide and they continue to decide. And even when they find out what their platform is going to be or what their their speech to donors would be. Before that, and most importantly, is that you come together as diverse people, everybody gets their voice heard, and they do things, and they experiment, and they fail every once in a while. They make mistakes, because through that mistake, through that failure, you fall forward. You go forward, you progress the entire organization, the movement, and then it becomes something. It coalesces. Maybe we haven't met that point yet, and that's exciting. So that anybody can come in, anybody can be a part of this right now. And I tell you what, the people that want to join at the end of the day when it looks successful, they're going to be jealous of the people that started from the very beginning. And 50 years from now, gay people are going to be equal in this country. And the political parties, they're still going to be fighting as to who has power. And so when you think about what you're going to invest in, whether it's money or time, resources, or effort, volunteering, when you invest in something you know will succeed. And a moral issue, a moral cause such as this one will succeed. We know that we will, as people, as the 99%, we will change the system, not only the system of poverty versus extravagance, but the system of governance. It's not the speed that you travel on a road, but this road is screwed up right now. And so when you're traveling on this road, we have to see right now, how do we fix this? And the conversations going on right now are like the conversations that happened at the Constitutional Convention 200 plus years ago. And so this is not an invasion. It is not,
it's a renaissance.
It's a renaissance. It's a revolution.
Yeah.
It is a rising up of people in the true form of democracy that we started this country to begin with. And that's why I say yes. This country, America, started as a movement. It is a movement. I'll spend the rest of my life making sure that it remains a movement. And that's how we honor America, the idea of America, the America that I fought for, the America that we live and fight to protect, the America that we, within the First Amendment and nonviolent direct action, are creating again every single day.
So you've been arrested
a lot,
a couple of times.
I'm proud.
Actually,
I'm proud of it.
How do you feel? Because it's not like you're, breaking property, stealing someone's property, hurting anybody. How does it feel when you push the limits of your First Amendment rights? As not just like as a citizen, but like I feel like everybody, who feels like this is my humanity on the line. How do you feel when, what's that process like? Because I know you're going through, appeals by.
Sure.
Yeah.
I've earned a lot of medals and badges in the military, but there's no reward like the redemptive suffering of putting yourself on the front line for justice and for freedom in a way that, yes, it will get you into trouble, and temporary trouble is nothing compared to the vindication of enacting justice. And when we fight for that justice, the reward is not just for me. I know the question is, how did you feel? How does it feel for an individual? It feels great. It feels redemptive. It feels like you have finally grown into a mature human being, a real citizen. And I thought because I came back from war that I was, a true citizen. But citizenship is not based on whether you go and enact violence in another country or whether you gain a lot of medals. It's not about rank. It's not about titles or honorary names that people call you. It's not about that. Citizenship is about putting others before yourself. And when you fight for justice, you don't fight for just us. Justice is not just us. When you fight for yourself and you fight for equality, for instance, the gay community, when we're fighting for equal rights, we fight for everybody else. When we shout, "I am somebody,"
That's
when we're
right,
out on the streets and when we're chained up to the White House fence, and our message is very simple, very clear, very resounding. That if we, as the most discriminated citizens in America today, and most stigmatized minority, and probably the entire world, and maybe even the history of the world, if we can shout, "I am somebody," then what's your excuse? Then what's holding you up? Immigrants, subjugated women, all the people, the workers and the labor unions, all the people who are opposed to war and the victims of war, all the people who have suffered
Everyone
in
who's
any way.
invisible, really. If you feel invisible, it's this is the opportunity now. Like I feel like it's been such a long time, and you can sort of see how that's manifested in this movement where we want to get things. You know, we have our set of, well, maybe not set of demands, but we have a common cause. So we're doing two things at once. We're fighting for a better world, and we're trying to figure out how to do that at the same time. And I think that's where a lot of frustration is coming from. It's like, well, what are they doing? And you know, why is it taking so long? It's like, well, our side has been so disorganized, so isolated, you know, and so I wouldn't say bought off or apathetic, but just unable to figure out how to move forward. And now that the Occupy movement has, you know, gotten on its feet and, you know, starting to walk on those 2 feet, you know, we're definitely getting there. And, you know, it's so the people that are invisible, you know, become visible, and the people who have, you know, the loudest voices, strong voices, can not only just give voice to those who have been silent, but also give people the courage to speak up.
And I want to say one thing
out from the shadows.
I think when people talk about coming out and they look at the people who come out,
yes,
in the past years, the gay community has suffered enormously in the messaging arena because, let me be quite frank here, everybody thinks gay people are a rich, white, corporate movie star with beautiful hair and shiny shoes and tight white jeans and smells like raspberries. But you know, we're much more than that. And when you realize that in the 99% are a whole lot of gay people.
Right.
Well, you're talking about the entire
at least 10% of 99%.
That's right. What is 10%? My math. I mean, I know I'm Asian, but the math is really bad, and I don't understand how exactly. But I think it's a good amount of people. And when you see that in all movements, there have been the gay and lesbian, bisexual, transgender
throughout history.
people.
Yes.
They have been there in every country, in every enclave, in every village. We were there.
Yeah.
And our idea of coming out.
Yeah.
We cannot say that there's only a certain kind of people who can come out. What we're saying is everybody not only can come out, but must come out.